the real good stuff, the interesting stuff, what we've all been waiting for. Who to blame? Top, I'm gonna defend why Iverson was not the reason for the Sixers' demise, for the Pistons' demise, and for the Nuggets' demise. You know, simple as that. It wasn't his fault. He had a part to do with it, but it wasn't his fault. For starters, the Sixers. Let's address this simply. Okay, they went to the finals in 2001. You know, Larry Brown leaves in 2003. A guy by the name of Pat Croce stops being the GM. 2002. Who becomes the GM after Pat Croce? 2 words. Billy King. From the time that Billy King was the GM till he got fired, the Sixers made the playoffs 1 year out of the 4 years. You know, and he hired 5 different coaches in those 4 years. You know, stability is not important to win NBA games. You know, till the Sixers make the playoffs the last 2 years. Prior to that, well, what happened? Billy King got fired as the GM of the Philadelphia 76ers. And therein is your answer. Billy King was the reason Philadelphia failed. It wasn't Allen Iverson. It was a simple fact that Billy King could not put the pieces together around Iverson to benefit him and the team to succeed. Pat Croce did it. John Lynch, Dale Ratliff, Dikembe Mutombo, Eric Snow, Matt Geiger, guys like that. It's what Iverson needed. Not Kyle Korver, not Dallenberg, not Iguodala, not Willie Green, you know. And that's what he did, you know. Yeah, Larry Brown, and then also Larry Brown had a lot to do with it. 6 years, you got to know Iverson. You know, you get 5 coaches in 4 years, you're not going to be very successful, you know. You're not. There's no consistency there. And you expect the Sixers to be doing good? But no, with the one mainstay in those 6 years where they were struggling, you know, it was Iverson. So, there's a scapegoat. Let's all bash him, blame him for this reason the Sixers sucked. But it wasn't because of him, you know, because he constantly poured his heart out for the city of Philadelphia, for the Philadelphia 76ers. The reason the Sixers were so bad when he left, Billy King. So, there's that answer. Now, the Nuggets. For starters, overall, they had no heart, you know. They flashy, let's go out there, jack up shots, get it going, you know. Iverson did add to this persona, you know, but it wasn't the reason for their getting to the playoffs and not getting past the first round, you know. Like I stated before, he wasn't a raw leader. So when they got to the playoffs, you know, he wasn't able to motivate his team, and his team stayed, you know, mellow. Wasn't motivated, you know. I remember that playoff series last year with the Lakers, and I remember literally having an awful feeling in my stomach because here they were not doing their you know. And of course, you know, Billups gets there, and everyone jumps on him, you know, how great he is, you know. Billups is a hell of a player. It's the reason the Pistons were able to get to 6 straight conference finals. The reason the Nuggets got to it this year, you know. But Coach K has as much influence on the Nuggets this year as Billups did. Why? Because he got Carmelo Anthony, to buy into the defensive aspect of basketball and to buy into it. You know, it wasn't Billups. Of course, Billups came in and brought it all together, you know. But it was Melo who, from the start of preseason, while Iverson was there, was going to bring in this defensive aspect to it, you know. And that's one thing that why you can't blame Iverson for the Nuggets, you know. They made it to the playoffs 2 years, you know, but they played more offense than they did defense, in part due to George Karl and, you know, and trying to just Phoenix Sun it up and try to get to the finals. But been proven time and time again. Defense wins playoff series and championships, you know. So it's the reason you can't blame Iverson for the Nuggets downfall. As for the Pistons, now I've always liked the Pistons simply because they played fundamentally sound defensive basketball. You know, they got after it, did the little things about basketball with the swagger that wasn't like the Spurs, you know, because I always compared those two teams together, the Spurs and the Pistons. They were the equals of each other in the Western and Eastern conferences, you know. So the Pistons, Chauncey Billups was their glue. He held that team together like this. He held them together. You get rid of him, you lose an integral part of your team, you know. They got hit with injuries. Rip got hurt. Sheed got hurt. You know, McDyess was gone for a month. Iverson got hurt. You know, so the reason that they weren't able to. Another thing, anyone who's seen Rasheed Wallace play kind of could see him. He had a down year as far as the swagger he carried for that team. You know, as Rasheed Wallace went, so did the Pistons. But he seemed to kind of be iffy about it. Not because of Iverson, though. Here's what happened. Here's the reason that the Pistons collapsed, and not because of Iverson. Number one reason: Michael Curry, Joe Dumars. Simple as that. As a coach, you inherit this team. Bring in Iverson. Your starters go Allen Iverson, Rip, Tayshaun, Rasheed. And for the month that McDyess was gone, you go Amir Johnson, Kwame Brown, Max Seal, someone. But you go with that team from the beginning. Over the time of the year, they build chemistry, they get to know each other, and then you put Rodney Stuckey as a sixth man, something that he did perfectly last year in the playoff run. But no, these two jackasses were so headstrong in starting him that it ruined the chemistry of the Detroit Pistons. Why? Because for starters, they bench Rip Hamilton. That does not sit well with the veteran players on the Pistons. Rasheed gets mad, Tayshaun gets mad, McDyess, they get mad, you know, because Rip has done so much for the Pistons over the years, you know, and then they just bench him for Iverson and Curry, and Stuckey. So what do? To solve that problem, you bench Stuckey. Simple as that. You don't bench anyone else. You know, Iverson has been in the league 13 years. He's earned his starting role. Hamilton has been doing so well for the Pistons. He's earned his starting role. You bench a second-year player, and the Pistons don't take so much offense to it. So there, the management, Joe Dumars, Michael Curry, alienated themselves from the Pistons, from their team, you know, simply because they were so headstrong and stupid in starting Ronnie Stuckey. And that was it. That's the reason the Pistons sucked this year. You know, not because Iverson got there, not because Iverson brought him down. You know, I saw Iverson play this year. He's still doing the same thing he's been doing for 13 years. You know, it's just bad management has been the reason for the Pistons to suck, Nuggets to suck, the Sixers to suck. Not Iverson, people. Not Iverson. Please think. Think before you assume something about a player and kick his ass when he's supposedly at fault for these things, you know? That's all I have to say about that. It's simple. How did it work with all these things? With all these teams, you know? When he was the Sixers, Pat Coaching and Larry Brown made it work with Iverson, you know? They did it. They adapted to him, you know? Milo and AI coexisted. They're the reason they won 50 games, at least won 50 games, you know, last year. It's the reason they got to the playoffs, you know. It wasn't because they sucked or stuff, you know. And the Pistons, you know, that crucial, important time playing together was needed, and because so many